On Thursday, it really is time for Rangers to end their pain in Spain. See you on the other side. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen David. Guys, the channel that brings you your team every single day for free, for nothing, run by a fan for you, the fans. Well, guys, it is Thursday, another massive game for Glasgow Rangers. One of probably the toughest that Philippe Clement will have faced in his time at the club as we travel to Seville to take on Real Betis. An informed Real Betis who drew 1-1 with Real Madrid on Saturday at home, and a team that are currently sitting 7th in La Liga. Now, we know that Spain is historically a nation that produces some very good teams. The Valencia team of the 90s, early 2000s, name your FC Barcelona team that has been fantastic up until recent years, the Messis and the Xavis and the Etos and the Ronaldinhos and the Iniestas. The Real Madrid team who throughout the generations have been a force. The Atletico Madrid team that since Diego Simeone has been their manager has been a force as well. The Yellow Submarine Villarreal as well, who've had great success in Europe. Like I said, Spain historically produced some very good teams who do very well in Europe. And this will be no change on Thursday against a very good Real Betis team. Yes, Betis are suffering some injuries. Yes, they are could be missing up to 6 of their regular first teamers. However, their star player, Germán Pezzela, apparently I think that's the guy's name. I always struggle with names, but I'm sure that's the name I read, will be available to play on Thursday. They have Isco as well, obviously, who's another very talented player. Mark Roca, another very talented player as well. So they've got some good players at the club, and it will be a huge test. Probably the biggest test for Clement and a real litmus test to really see where we are as a club. What progress has Philippe made with this team? Where has he got this team to? What are the weaknesses still? Because there's one thing that is for sure: a team like Real Betis will expose your weaknesses through their passing, through their possession style, through their skillful players. Now, going back obviously to the start of the group, Rangers managed, even under Michael Beale, to beat Real Betis at Ibrox, a 1-0 victory. That goal, again, courtesy of that man, Abdallah Sima, via a bit of support from Ben Davis. But a win was a win, and it was a fantastic start and a really, really promising performance. And we need a performance pretty much akin to that, if not a bit better, at least another 20-30% better if we're going to go out to Spain and win that game on Thursday night. Now, if you go back and look at Rangers' record in Spain since the turn of the century, in the last 23 years, Rangers have not done well in Spain. In fact, we have not won a single game in Spain in the last 23 years. The last decent result, you can almost say, what we got was a draw. That is it. A draw was the last decent result. That was against Villarreal, I think. So a draw was the last decent result in Europe, in Spain, not against Spanish opposition, because obviously we beat Betis at Ibrox. But in Spain, the best result we've got since the turn of the century is that draw at Villarreal. We haven't actually won in Spain since the turn of the century. In fact, you have to go back to the 71-72 season for Rangers' last victory on Spanish soil. Yes, that game we all remember, that fantastic Cup Winners' Cup triumph over Dynamo Moscow at the Camp Nou, when Rangers obviously lifted the European Cup Winners' Cup. But that is the last time we triumphed on Spanish soil. That is awful. That is nearly 50 odd years ago. That is just absolutely crazy. We need to win on Thursday. It is quite simple that we have to end that pain in Spain. We have to end the suffering in Spain. And we'll have to obviously be somewhere near our very, very best to really put Betis under the cosh and beat them. 3 points, we win. That takes us to the last 16 of the Europa League and straight into the knockout phases. Avoids the playoff round, straight into that knockout phases, which obviously has to be the aim to win the group. If we lose or draw, if we draw and Sparta Prague fail to beat Aris, then Rangers could go through second in the group and would therefore be in the playoff round against the teams that finished third and dropped out of the Champions League. And there are some very tough teams coming out of the Champions League. There's no point obviously speculating as who they are with Champions League match day still to go, with a number of teams still obviously in contention to qualify. It could be any number of teams coming out of that group. But if you look at the group of death, for example, with Paris Saint-Germain, Borussia Dortmund, Newcastle and AC Milan, any one of those 4 teams will be an exceptionally tough opponent if you were to be unlucky enough to draw them in that playoff round. A third place finish, if we lose and Sparta win against Aris, then that third place finish would lead us in to drop to the poor relation of Europe, the Conference League. I know some Rangers fans are excited by the prospect of playing in the Conference League. Personally, not excited at all. Personally, see it as a competition that will distract us from what we need to be concentrating on. A competition that doesn't carry very much value. That is the Papa Johns of Europe. For me, it's victory or bust on Thursday. We need to win. We need to get through the Europa League. Having a run in the Europa League, getting through the different stages in the Europa League is much more important than any Conference League run. It is much more prestigious. It carries a lot more finance. Obviously, it's not as much finance as the UCL, but it still carries finance, money that we need, especially money if we're going to rebuild this squad over the summer and give Philippe Clement the resources he needs. Like I said, it will be a massive, massive test for Philippe Clement. And, it's going to be interesting to see how Philippe actually approaches this game. Does he go and attack them? Does he run with our normal lineup? Or does he go in more pragmatic and try and sit back and defend and hit them on the break? What is the way to play? What is the best formation to go with? How is he going to line up on Thursday? It is a massive question. Now, a number of analysts are suggesting that Rangers may go in with a defensive formation, try and hold them and hit them on the break. Personally, I don't think that's going to be the answer. I think that if you invite pressure onto yourselves, you're going to cause yourself a great deal of trouble. I don't think changing the formation is the answer either, because we don't have time in training to work on changing a formation. So playing a 4-2-3-1 has got to be the way forward. In addition to that, the number of injuries we currently have, in key areas really do put us in a position where we are struggling to name, say, for instance, central midfielders. We're struggling to name strikers because of the fact that Danilo is injured, because of the fact Ryan Jack is injured, Raskin is injured, Lawrence is injured. So it is a situation where we will have pretty much the bare bones to pick from, unless more of those young players come in. In addition to that, you've got the situation that was handed to us by the fact that Michael Beale absolutely cocked this European squad up and left us very short in key areas like central midfield, defensive central midfield, and in defence, of course. It is going to be a huge game on Thursday, but Rangers do need to go out there and do need to end this pain in Spain. History's got to change at some point. You can't continue through history never winning in a particular country. That cannot continue forever. Someday it has to change. And we're hoping that on Thursday, that could actually happen. Let's hope so. Let's hope we name our strongest team, guys. Let's hope we can go out there and get the result. Look, it would be just like Rangers, wouldn't it, to go out there, put in a performance and actually win their game, because it's something that people are not expecting us to do. So let's hope we carry that out. Well, guys, please continue to subscribe to the channel, hit that sub, ring the notification bell. And as always, on the way out, 2 things from you guys. 1, smash the like. 2, remember, we are the people.